Are you ready for some Kappa, Delta, Lambda, Theta, Gamma, Zeta, Sigma, Phi, Omega, Schlock? Then you are in the right place because we are taking pledges. Alpha women and beta males only. Welcome to the show. I am Darby Ellis Lewis Wilson. With me is Chris Anonymous, and we are talking about the brand new Hulu, direct to Hulu movie, Slotherhouse. Couldn't miss out on this one.
No.
They got Cocaine Shark. They got Cocaine Bear and Sharknadoes, and now we got a Slotherhouse.
Slotherhouse, yeah.
A sorority house with a killer sloth. We could not miss out on this. This came out just this month, year of our Lord 2023, October 17th, I believe. It made about over $100,000. Now, I don't know. I doubt that is streaming money, like what Hulu has made off of the streaming revenue. I would imagine that this movie had a small theatrical release, probably overseas. It was filmed in Serbia, and I think many of the actors were British. So probably that was probably the actors and their family going to watch this movie in a theater. That's probably where their revenue came from. The rumor is, it's going around, I don't know if this is true, I can scarcely believe it, that this movie cost $20 million to make. How do you like them apples?
I like them. I like those apples.
I don't know. I don't know if that's true. In fact, the place that I saw it said that this is a rumor, so who knows? But that's all the financial information I could find on it. Chris, coming in kind of hot and heavy. The whole fraternal sororal thing has me going. I've never been in a fraternity. Have you?
No, I have not.
No, you're never a lambda.
No.
Okay.
No. Yeah.
Well, we'll bring it down for a sec. I got a better question for you, and it directly relates to this movie.
Okay.
And it really helped me put this movie into some better context after I watched it. What was the first scary movie that you ever saw, if you can remember? And how old?
Oh man. Well, and it's hard to say like what I consider scary now versus what I considered scary.
I think
then.
what you thought was scary back then. First official horror movie.
Oh, I don't know. I really don't know. I'm guessing probably something like Jaws or some kind of creature feature.
Okay. So it's something like kind of big.
Yeah, something big and probably something like scary, but still not maybe supernaturally.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm guessing something kind of like that, but I'll have to think about it. Yeah. What about you?
Well, Jaws, pretty scary movie. I mean, it's not like slasher horror or anything like that, but pretty scary movie. Makes you think twice about going in the water. Definitely rated R. For me, I can't really remember. I know that my first memory of like really participating in the watching of a scary movie was, I think I was in 5th grade. So however old you are then, my brother had a Nightmare on Elm Street 2 on VHS, and I wasn't allowed to watch that stuff, right? Scary stuff. So every day I would sneak the VHS after school. I'd come home, sneak the VHS, and I knew that I had like 30 minutes or something before my parents came home. I would put it in the VCR. I would watch it, just a little bit of it, and then I would rewind it back to where it was. And I think over the span of a week,
Okay.
I watched A Nightmare on Elm Street. Also a very rated R movie.
Yeah. So I'm thinking I kind of like dipped my toe in the water with horror a lot without actually watching full on horror movies. Like Lost Boys was definitely one of the first movies that had scary elements in it, but it was fun. You know what I'm saying like
Yes.
it felt like a kids on bikes kind of thing that had horror elements in it. So I could get scared and I could have, but then there was a lot of safe moments where it was just fun.
Right.
I'm trying to think like, so there were a lot of movies as a kid where I loved that had like spooky things in them and scary moments, but overall probably aren't the horror movies you're talking about. Like Lost Boys was definitely up there. The Burbs, I loved The Burbs
Oh,
as a kid.
Burbs is great.
So great. But it's, there's some scary moments and like, it's creepy neighbors who are killing people, but it's mainly a fun 80s comedy.
Well, this is where Slotherhouse comes in. It's supposed to live more of in that world, sort of the world of getting to dip your toe into the world of horror. It's PG-13, and they did that on purpose because, yeah, it's a ridiculous concept. They wanted it to be funny and semi non-threatening, right?
Right.
So that this could be potentially be someone's first horror movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if you're watching, tell us in the comments, what was your first scary movie?
Yeah.
I think that's fascinating. Was it a rated R gore fest or something that made you paranoid for the rest of your life, or was it something fun and funny?
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good
So,
question.
this movie, like I said, it was filmed in Serbia, probably on a lower budget, straight to Hulu. The way it came about was, you'll see this, I think, on our YouTube thumbnail. Someone asked the question of the writer, what's his name, Brad Fowler. They asked him, "What is the dumbest thing you can come up with?" And they came up with this movie. They're like, "We got it, killer sloth in a sorority house." And I
It's
think
called
within,
Slotherhouse.
yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know how long, but I don't think it was very long. They wrote the script and they just ran with it.
Yeah,
And
and kudos to them for that. I feel like when they first pitched this idea that like they were just rolling around laughing and giggling.
oh, I'm sure. I bet they had a blast with it.
Yeah, and then like they're
So
like, "Wait, we're really doing it?" Yeah,
we're doing
yeah.
it. We're gonna do it. Are you sure? No, we're gonna. It's like, it was like this chicken, right?
Yep.
Like seeing who's gonna pull out first, pull
And
away
now
first.
they got a
Uh,
movie.
so we'll get on with the show. The way we do this show is we like to talk about these schlocky movies. We like to talk about what's good, what's bad, and what's schlocky. What are the big ideas? What are the things that stuck out to us? But before we go on, I have something very special to tell you, because next week we have a very sweet interview. For those who are listening, I'm winking my eye
What
very
do you mean by
hard.
sweet?
Sweet. You're going to have to wait till the end of the episode so that we can tell you who we are interviewing. We just got this news in.
But I
And
want to
we're
know
very excited.
now.
So stick around. We're going to do good, bad, and schlock. But first, we like to know who these people are who made this movie, where they came from, and where they're going, with a little segment called Web of Schlock. Chris, take me away.
Yeah, there's not a big paper trail on IMDb for a lot of these cool kids and cats. Matthew Goodhue is the director. He has another feature called Whoa that came out in 2020, and then he's got several shorts. But that's really all about it. The writer who we talked about, Bradley Fowler, several shorts. He's also written Slotherhouse, Novel Love, Love Meets Hope, and The Voices. So it looks like romance and or horror.
It's sort of the same.
But again, not a ton of credits. He is an actor as well. He played the paramedic in Slotherhouse, but he was I think the lead in Love Meets Hope, which was 2016 film. We have Liz Embalavanar, I'm probably butchering that name. She was Jinx in the Titans series from a couple of years ago. We have Sydney Craven. She was in Jeepers Creepers Reborn several years ago.
Yep.
And a lot of these other actors, a lot of British actors, a lot of TV, small bits in British movies and or short films. But again, not a lot of credits and within the last decade. So a lot of really young talent that are just kind of starting to make a name for themselves. And then we have Stefan Kapikic. I'm probably butchering that name too. He was the poacher in this movie, and he was Colossus in Deadpool 2, and it'll be Colossus in Deadpool 3.
Really?
Yep.
That's Colossus?
That's Colossus.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. That's a pretty big name in the movie, right?
Yeah. Better Call Saul. He had a role in Better Call Saul. And you saw him earlier this year in The Last Voyage of the Demeter.
Oh, yeah. All right. I think he's our most legit movie star.
Yeah, for sure. And that's really about it. I mean, you can look up any actor you liked in this, and they're going to have several credits. And yeah.
Well, I gotta point out my shirt here, because our poacher, when I watched this movie, I was like, that dude is the spitting image of Jalon Crossland. He's a young Jalon Cross. Doesn't he look exactly? Yeah. Folks, if you're into the Wyoming hippie or folk music scene, check out Jalon Crossland. For the last 20 years, the guy is an incredible performer and musician. And if you like Deadpool and Colossus, you owe it to yourself to look up Jalon Crossland. I think they're directly connected.
Yeah. Long lost cousins, twice removed.
Yeah, maybe. All right. Well, let's move right into the good then. So I believe you took it last week, so I will take the good and the bad this week.
Okay.
Number one good. This is the biggest highlight of the movie for me. It's an animatronic sloth. I came into this expecting just a CGI schlock fest, and I couldn't have been happier that they actually had like a real animatronic puppet through, I think, probably the whole thing. I mean, I was looking for like animated shots, but I didn't really see any. People have compared Alpha the sloth to like a Chucky. And I think that was their intention with the character.
They even mentioned it in dialogue in the film.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So and I think while I don't know if I like the direction, I think they definitely achieved that. And man, I just can't praise like practical effects enough, and I want to see more of that. And so if you're a practical effect person, you might want to check this out.
Yeah.
Let's see. I think, the movie overall was fun. Like I said, putting it in the context of it being like a PG-13, baby's first scary movie sort of avenue, like that lets me forgive a lot more things in it, and just sort of sit back and have fun with it. I thought that it had a good message in it about social media. You know, don't live for trying to like make other people want to follow you, right?
Don't go chasing waterfalls.
Yeah, don't go chasing waterfalls. Yeah. Stick to the rivers you're used to. Great message, and I really liked that they were using I think it was basically Instagram, but they're using like the number of followers that someone had as essentially their social status. I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, that was a cool idea.
So good messaging. And then on the other end, I thought that this movie was going to, like, as soon as they opened with the whole poaching thing, I thought this movie was going to have a huge like animal rights activism message that was going to just get shoved down our throats, the audience's throat. And I mean, it is in there a little bit, right? Don't take animals out of their natural habitat.
Which makes sense.
That was kind of it. I thought the movie was going to be preachy. I sort of set myself up for that, and it wasn't. And so, like, I have to thank any writer nowadays for that. Like, thank you for not preaching to me.
I think their message came across even better because you don't preach.
Right.
You know, when you have to think about things and come to your own conclusions about them, and you're presented with the story and the data, that's much stronger and more effective to get your message across. So yeah, I like that.
Don't take sloths out of the wild because they will murder everyone you know.
They are faster than you think.
What did you like about
Yeah.
this movie?
What else you got?
That's it. That's
You know,
all I
a lot
like.
of the same things you did. The animatronics. I liked a lot of the sloth kills. I thought he was going to be more like a force of nature, and I thought it was going to be silly, but kind of take itself seriously in the silliness. But no, he drives a car, and he takes selfies, and he does hashtags, and he doesn't just use his claws to kill. He has a lot of
Sorry,
really sorry.
Alpha's a she.
Yep, sorry. She has a lot of
I did
great
it too.
kills that that don't use her claws, and I think that's amazing. There were some really good laughs in it, like when it's one of her first kills where she keeps moving and like appearing, and then the lights come back, and it's after she drugged the sorority girl, and the girl's paralyzed on the floor, and then like got blackouts, and then she's over here, and then she's over here.
It's kind of like when the lightning flashes.
Yep.
Yeah, that was really cool.
Yeah, it was really cool. It was also really ridiculous and hilarious, and like those moments in this movie were my favorite parts of the movie, when it went just really over the top and zany. There were some good laughs. It looked pretty good. I doubt the budget was that high, but whatever it was, they used their money well. And there were some clever setups and homages that I enjoyed. Like when she's with the stuffed animals and you get that ET moment, or when she comes through the door and it's gets that slight shining moment, and like just lots of self-aware.
She gets knocked out the window, and we have a Halloween moment.
The perfect Halloween moment. I totally called it. I'm like, when she looks back, the sloth's going to be gone, and then like, bam.
The Mean Girls car hit.
Yep, that was a great homage.
This movie's full of them.
So when it did really fun, clever things like that, that was really good, and it was a lot of fun. So I wish there would have been more.
Well, this is a bit of a schlock question, but I wanted to ask you this. Normally in movies, you don't like it when homages happen.
Yeah, normally I don't, but this feels like, and we can talk about it in schlock more, but this feels borderline parody, and that's kind of the point of parody.
Okay.
And this movie doesn't take itself very seriously, and sometimes some of these schlocky horror movies, it feels like they're high on their own supply, and then they homage stuff that's clearly better than what they are, and they're not in on the joke, and then that's when I'm like, you probably shouldn't have done that.
Yeah. Well, you've satisfied me. I mean, I think you're right. Parody, right? That's sort of the all forgiving thing. Well, it's parody, right?
Right. Yeah. That's what parody does is reference other things. So, what do you got for bad?
So bad. Let's see. My list for bad is a little bit longer. Not much, but longer. The beginning where they're introducing all of the characters. While I mentioned earlier that I really like that they showed the Instagram followers as social status, for me, and maybe this is just because like I'm pushing 40, it was a lot to take in at the beginning. Like the characters talking, they're introducing themselves like through dialogue, but then they also put up the Instagram stuff, and that all had like, you know, funny little tidbits about these characters as well. And so I'm like trying to like follow their social standing with followers, like how popular are they, trying to read the little blurbs about them, trying to follow along with the dialogue and the story. I was just like, man, what is going on? I don't know, but maybe that gives it rewatch value. I don't know.
I can see both.
Yeah. Let's see. Getting Alpha. So when our main girl, she goes to meet the poacher and pick up the sloth, I didn't think all of that was particularly believable. So you know Jalon's gonna die, right?
Right.
That the sloth is gonna kill him. But then the fact that she just comes in and there's chaos has ensued, and she feels comfortable just picking up this animal that just scared her. I don't know. Again, it's all in the realm of parody. So I mean, I guess all can be forgiven, but I would have liked a better reason of getting into it, like a more solid reasoning getting into it. Let's see. Some of the dialogue I just thought was like way too mean and therefore like unbelievable. Like, do people talk like this? Are people that mean to other people, like directly to their face? Or is that just like the way people talk on the internet? Like, are sorority girls really that mean to each other?
I don't know. I mean, if I were a sorority girl, I would be that mean to other people. That's just me.
I'm seeing Megan off camera and she is like nodding her head. Yes, girls are that mean. So, okay, that's I don't know.
They had a movie called Mean Girls. I don't know.
Yeah. I just feel like there's a point where someone just needs to be like, why are you so mean? Why are you mean?
Let me break in here with one of my bads, and we'll get back to yours because it kind of springboards off of yours. I thought a lot of the characters and acting, and again, parody makes you gives you a free pass, but it was way over the top. A lot of the characters it felt like British people like doing what they thought American college people would do. Yeah. Like it didn't ring true. It just was like so over the top that it became numbing and unbelievable. And sometimes that's fun, but that's fun and fun. Yeah. Fun and funny. But I think they went a little too far with this. And so I do think people, no matter who they are, what they are, can be mean in real life. But I think that it was definitely done to an extreme here, just like everything else. Like a lot of the characters felt very one note, and they kept doubling down on that one note and hammering it in. And it wasn't just about being mean; it was just about being whatever character trait that character had. So that was kind of one of my bads. Just like everyone was one note, and that note was played really loud over and over again.
Right. Yeah. But they're all sisters, and they all love each other too, even though they're terrible.
Right, just like a family.
So, and on that, how much they love each other and the weird interrelational dynamics they have, I did not like that Alpha is doing all of these kills. He kills a lot of these girls through a montage. She kills a lot of all these girls through a montage. And so while I don't necessarily like the pacing, and I think that we might talk about this in Schlock a little bit later. I think all of the kills should have been pushed more towards the third act,
100%,
and one big massacre.
Yep.
But and here's why I think that, because they never really mention all of the missing girls.
Like in some of the really fast like hashtags and like little freeze frames of their social media, they do like, where's Jenny? Jenny's gone for a week now. That's weird.
I mean, that would be, and if they were all from the same sorority, that would be like a huge deal. And
you
like
would have cops crawling everywhere, and investigating, and parents coming in. Like, that would not be this fun. Again, that takes you out of the reality of the situation. And how can I say reality of situation when we're talking about a sloth that just can drive and kill people? But it does.
Hey man, I could absolutely believe the premise of like a rabbit sloth like clawing people. I could buy that. But yeah, missing girls, no way. But here's the thing: I feel like they could have, and maybe they did feel like they were doing their due diligence by like putting that in the background. And I think even the mean girl, she says like something like, "Oh, you're responsible for Katie and Lacey being missing," or whatever their names are. But I think if they just would have said something like, "Pledge week is hard, and a lot of girls can't take it, so they leave."
Right.
Something like that. Just a good plausible reason for them being gone.
Since we already have the sloth, since Alpha she's been texting, right? And posting, she could have hacked into the phones and posted for them like, "I can't take it. I have to go."
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
and like, man, we're losing a lot of pledges this year. That's so weird. Like, so little things like that get glossed over because it's this giant silly movie, that if you would have just took 10 more minutes to think it through, I think really would have shorted up and made it stronger. But that can
Yeah.
be in Schlock. We can get to that. What else do you got?
And well, it's sort of piggybacking on all of this, like you said, the one note characters. I do think a lot of the comedy in it was very try hard. Like I was just like, oh man, I forget her name, but the tomboy character, like I was just way too much for me. I was like, I don't understand who this person is. Like I
Because they're not a real person.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Because
Yeah.
this person doesn't exist in real life. Parts of this person exist in real life, but not this person.
Right.
And then my last bad is that I really think they missed out on the sloth's nails. Right. Girls these days, they have these long witch nails that are all decorated. Like, right. They can't like wipe their butts or push buttons, and they bling their nails all up. Couldn't they have done that with Alpha's nails? Like have a scene where they're...
I don't know if they could have done that, but they should have had a Manny Petty scene for sure.
I mean, come on.
Yeah,
low hanging fruit.
And maybe they shot that and then it just didn't make it to the final cut.
It's on the cutting room floor.
Right. It feels like something that, like, what are some funny, quick montagey scenarios that could go? Like when she's on the lounge chair and she's got the makeup and the wig.
Yeah.
And all, yeah, it's just great.
Absolutely. Yeah. See, I would have rather seen a montage of that rather than the murders and later.
Yeah. Okay,
what do you have for bad? What else?
Man, we are very similar here. The kill montage, I have a problem with that because especially the people that they were killing were the ones we didn't get to know very well, and they killed them in such a quick fashion. Some of those kills were really funny and fun, but it all happened in this weird montage at the wrong point in the movie, and it wasn't any character that we really cared about yet. So it just, besides having some really funny kills, that's all it was. So I think that was a missed opportunity. I think a lot of this, my bads aren't like, oh, this is awful. It's that, man, if they would have done this, this, and this, it would have elevated it to like cult classic status. And
absolutely,
to me, it's not cult classic status because of a few minor things. So it's over the top, and I liked that in my good, but sometimes it's too over the top in a bad way, like the one note characters that they keep hammering on. So I think the other, I'll get to two more and then we'll get into Schlock. The sloth doesn't really tie in thematically to a sorority house. Like, I get it's fun to have a sloth as a slasher killer, and a sorority house is a classic place to set a slasher at, and it's fun to have it be the mascot. But beyond that, like you talked about the themes of the movie and that you liked the message about like chasing likes and like, you know, is it better to be popular or have friends and be loved? And nothing about the sloth being taken from the wild and it being this dangerous, scary animal really ties into that. And I think you could have done that in a couple different ways. I just would have liked a stronger union of the two core concepts. I think you could have tied them better together thematically.
I think the big thing was that the sorority is called like Sigma Lambda Theta, SLTH, right? And that's why
sloth. It makes sense, sloth. Right? But that's a very superficial reason.
Yeah,
like you could have some depth of like, what is going on? Why the sloth? How does what happened to it represent what's up? How does it tie into what's going on in our main character's life? So
like you wanted it to end with what can we learn from sloths? Take it easy, but be dangerous.
Something like that, or like put Alpha and the main character in more situations where she is forced to put Alpha in some of these weird circumstances that maybe Alpha's not liking to get more likes. And
yeah.
Okay. And then what about so you have all the shots of them and like how many likes they have, and then they get another like, and the likes are going up and the likes are going down.
Mhm.
But I want a scene where a main character is looking in the mirror, and we have the same thing, and it's just one like, and like it goes down to 0 to like represent that she doesn't like herself,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
And so at the end, maybe she does something to stop the killer sloth, but also maybe save the sloth. You could do so many things, and then maybe her likes go down a lot, but then you see her looking in the mirror, and that one like ticks back up, and so it's like this like
Yeah.
lesson learned of like, I've learned to accept myself for who I am and what I've done. I've done the right thing, and it may not be the most popular thing. So, and that's just one example of a place to go.
Yeah.
You could go 100 different places. I just want you to pick one and actually tie everything in thematically.
Right.
And then, okay, my biggest bad is killing the poacher in Act 1.
Oh?
Stupidest thing ever. Okay, the only reason they kill him is to show that the sloth is dangerous and to get him out of the way, right?
Right.
Right.
And they don't have to ride him anymore.
Correct. But we already know that the sloth is dangerous because he gutted a croc, which sets you up for such a great movie. Like, oh man, he just killed this crocodile. Yeah. Like, it's getting real. It's getting real fast. Like when it turns over and you see the three claw marks on the croc's stomach, man, so good, so funny. So here's the problem: you didn't need to kill him. So if she goes to him and gets the sloth, then he hands her the pills and says, "Hey, these pills sedate her. You need them." And then you can show her either being lazy or maybe passing pills out to her friends at a party, or there's so many ways that she can not do her due diligence for the sloth to make it kind of her fault that the sloth is turning. And then we can use him as an Act 3 comeback to like, hey, the sloth you showed me is going crazy. Like, you gave it the pills, right? We ran out. And like, oh, okay, I try and bring you more. Like, and then he comes in to save the day, but then he totally gets murdered in this really fun moment in like end of Act 2, beginning of Act 3 area. I think having him come back to tie into the A plot and then get killed would have been a much stronger, funnier place.
I think we're moving into schlock because we're talking film structure and theory and whatnot now.
That's it. Let's schlock. Yeah.
So like the boyfriend in this movie, practically worthless, right?
Right.
Maybe other than him and the poacher, there's probably no other men in this movie, really.
Yeah, I think so, like the paramedic and a couple minor.
Why couldn't they have like combined those characters? Because we get a sense when she first meets the poacher that
she's flirting with him.
Yeah, there's some flirtation going on. So maybe while things are going good and we're having our funny comedy with the sloth in Acts 1 and 2, on the side, she is seeing this guy and building up a relationship. And then our turn is when, similar in the movie As It Is, where the sloth sees the girl with the poacher and decides.
Which is a great moment. And then she slams the laptop shut.
Yeah. So we could have had that same moment and sort of shored up our characters a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's so many little things like that totally work. Schlock wise, I mean, I think we've kind of talked about it, but the concept is just, this is pure schlock. This is what schlock is. If you don't like this idea, you don't like schlock. I'm not saying you have to like the movie, but like this is pure schlock.
Well, they said, Brad Fowler said it's supposed to live kind of in the same space as Slacks or Velocipaster. We reviewed Velocipaster on the show. Have you seen Slacks at all? No. It's like this pair of killer designer jeans.
Yeah. I have not. I'm aware of it, but I've not seen it. But that reminds. Go ahead.
So this movie, Slotherhouse, it's supposed to be like in the same realm of horror comedy, super ridiculous. but I don't think it really hits the same notes as those movies. Slacks could somewhat be taken as a serious movie with a ridiculous premise. I mean,
Mhm.
the characters in it are all very serious and concerned about what's going on. Uh, Velocipaster is just 100% over the top to where their practical effects uh, don't even bother to look real, right?
Right.
So and Slotherhouse, like I feel like it doesn't really go in either of those directions, right? Is it a
It does
ridiculous
not.
premise
Yeah.
that serious people are dealing with, or is it
Mhm.
just absolute batshit crazy?
Right. So I I felt I'll name two other movies, but it's a similar dichotomy between them of like uh, at one spectrum, it felt like they were going for something like Rubber,
Okay.
and at the other end, it felt like lesser Scary Movie,
A lesser scary, like the you
the
mean Scary
parody.
Movie?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes. Yeah.
yeah. I absolutely thought that. I didn't think Scary Movie. I thought like the later movies, like Date Movie, Epic
Right.
Movie,
Not like
and
it wasn't. It wasn't as good as the first Scary Movie, and it wasn't as meta and strange as Rubber. And it felt like it wanted to be both of them. And I think
Mhm.
there's a. I think you can be both of them. I think there's a way to meld it, but it felt like they teetered over here, and then they got afraid to commit, and then they teetered back over here, and they
Yeah,
got afraid to commit because some of it was super meta and super bizarre and very Rubber or Slacks or just that idea of commentary on horror as horror versus really over the top parody that is just so ridiculous and so yeah.
for those who don't know, Rubber is a movie about a psychokinetic tire that uh, kills people with its non-existent brain.
Hmm.
That's that's
And
that's Rubber.
for people who've not seen Scary Movie, it's a scary movie.
It's Scream, but funny.
Er.
Or yeah, funnier. Yeah, for real. So when we were talking prior to the show starting, you brought up sort of a stretching out a concept for further than it can go. Like we talked about it being
Yeah.
a potentially a short film.
Right. Well, I mean, I think this would have made a better short film. I think there's lots of concepts that are really great shorts. Like think about your favorite SNL skit and then think about some of them that got turned into feature length movies. Sometimes it works, but sometimes it doesn't work, right? Sometimes things are just better in a short, compact little package. And the more
Yeah,
ridiculous it is, the shorter it is if that's all you have to say. Now, I think you can take a concept that's really silly and expand it to a feature length film, but you have to have more substance than just the crazy concept.
right.
And I think they had the little pieces of it,
Hmm.
right? But I don't think they had the bones to put it all on. The through line wasn't there for me, and so it just kind of came up short. Lots of bits I loved, and I wish this was a cult classic, and I don't think it's going to be.
It's not going to quite get there.
No,
We'll see.
yeah, we'll see, and it's worth watching. If you're into schlock, you should definitely watch this movie. You're going to take something from it.
Well, so do you think this movie warrants or can go into sequel territory? Because I think that's the plan.
I would love to.
Or is that just stretching it out way too far? Like we've seen it, it's done. There's no more
I
to
mean,
it.
I would say yes, except for look at so many of the horror sequels out there, right? Like Sharknado. I
They
mean,
found a way.
they find yeah, there where there's a will, where there's money, there's a way.
Right.
So
Yeah.
and sometimes the sequels are somewhat better, I'm not saying good, but than the one before.
Like
So
they figure it out a little bit more.
they figure it out. So I think that why seeing this once is enough for the concept. If you have a strong underlying movie and character arc and different things, themes that are tied in, interesting characters, maybe a frat house, or maybe like a police academy school or something.
Mhm.
There's so many different areas you could take it. So yeah, I would totally watch a sequel if it intrigued me. If it was like, okay, I
Yeah,
can see how that could be a thing.
yeah. Or different animal, maybe? Or do you think they could keep going with the sloth?
What I would do is I would have the sloth, and then halfway through there's like the bigger, badder animal that's also you wouldn't normally think of as a killing animal, and then they have to like fight each other like a
Uh,
little like really tiny Godzilla versus King Kong type thing.
or like a koala?
Yeah,
Huh?
so
Koala?
koala
What
bear
koalas are scary?
versus sloth, and so then maybe the sloth actually saves the day in the end,
Yeah,
kills the more evil koala
I like
or
that idea.
kangaroo. You know, there's lots of.
Just people bringing in these very exotic animals. Not a good idea. So you had mentioned it earlier with the pills.
Yeah.
So when the sloth killed the poacher, was Alpha already drugged?
I think they had worn off, and I think he was going to give Alpha some more drugs, or they were in the
Mm-hmm.
process of wearing off. So yeah, she had already been drugged, and I think he was going to drug her more or prep her somehow to get purchased on the next day, on the morrow.
Well, later in the movie, we see Alpha spit out her pill.
Mm-hmm.
So, is that supposed to signify to us that Alpha has been spitting out pills and was never drugged, other than the initial tranquilizer?
Maybe. Yeah, could be. I took it as like if she likes you, she's going to take the pill and chill out. But because she spits it out after she
Mm-hmm.
realizes that the sorority girl has a picture on social media with the poacher. So
Right.
then she associates evil with the sorority girl, slams
Mm-hmm.
it down, spits out the pill. It's kind of a like, oh, it's on kind of moment.
Right. Well, so the first girl the Alpha killed, uh, I didn't quite catch this. Did she get roofied? Is that
So she took a bunch of Alpha took a bunch of her tranquilizer pills and
is
put
that
her.
what they were? They
Yes.
were Alpha's tranquilizer pills?
Yes.
Because I
Yeah.
thought they were different pills.
No, I'm pretty sure they were her pills that she put in to her beverage to paralyze her so she could do the lightning attack kill thing.
Ah, okay. I thought the implication there was that the sorority girl was actually going to roofie the
Oh,
guy, and
no,
they
no,
were
no.
doing like a
It was Alpha using her drugs to weaponizing
okay,
her own drugs.
okay, fair enough. Uh, talk about the ending real quick. I don't know that I liked. So the mean girl, she didn't really get any sort of redemption arc, and I think
No,
that's
I was so surprised that she lived.
yeah. I mean, that's horror 101, right? That person that is so awful, they have to either die, sacrifice themselves, or get some sort of good redemption arc, not just running away and be like, oh, I'm sorry, I can't help you, bye. And
I
then
mean,
at the end,
yeah,
they're besties.
I think you could have gotten away with if the character arc for the main character, if saving the mean girl helped her complete her arc, I
Mm-hmm.
think that would have justified the mean girl staying alive.
Well,
But it
that's
didn't.
sort of what it did, right?
It well it. But I didn't. It didn't feel earned, and it didn't feel true to me. It felt
She
like
went and
that's
did it because it was right, not because she liked her.
right.
Because they were sisters, sorority
Right. So I
sisters.
mean, it's there, but it just. I think you could have solidified it a little more. It wasn't quite. It just wasn't quite. It was slightly off for me.
Yeah. Yeah, that was odd. See, wasn't that one of the saddest endings for a movie killer? We see Jason, get hacked down, or Freddy Krueger get blown up and expelled. We see Michael Myers
They
get gunned down, but we see this little sloth get gunned down and
and
says,
sorted down and smashed down and just beat to a
just
bloody
keeps
little
going.
pulp.
It's the
And
Energizer Bunny.
he keeps springing up, so she's kind of bringing it on herself. But
But when she finally croaks,
She
she
points.
looks at that picture and goes, "Oh," like a little ET.
Yeah.
Like, "Oh, I just killed killer ET."
Yeah, like, oh, yeah, and it makes you kind of feel like, oh, I wish. But there were so many times that Alpha could have just left.
Exactly.
And she's smart. She's a smart enough,
She can drive a
super
car.
intelligent sloth. Right. She could have got back home. She could have just left. And if she likes killing people, she could have had a killing spree on her way south, back to the rainforest.
Yeah. Yeah, I take it
So
back. I don't feel bad for that sloth. She's being a little shit.
yeah, I mean, she chose to go back and kill them, and maybe she thought they were all on the same level of evil as the poacher. So maybe she was equating it with like doing the right thing. Like, I would go back to the jungle, but then some other sloth's going to get taken and brought to the sorority house. Nope.
Right.
They have to all die tonight to save all the sloths. Again, that would have been a fun take, and you could have went there just a little bit. So yeah. I have a question. What else do you have? What else you got?
That's all I have for Schlock, buddy.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, we've talked about the sloth and social media, the hashtags with killing, and when she goes to kill the sister at the hospital and like uses the pillow to suffocate her. Oh man, just so funny.
Is that her sister or sorority sister?
I'm not sure. I went back and forth. So sister of some sort, sort of sister.
Sister from another mister.
Say that 6 times fast. All right. The sloth driving, just so many fun, silly moments. But I want to pull out and talk about the movie, if there is a sequel. So we just got done watching Friday the 13th Part 2. Yep. And we watched Friday the 13th Part 1 earlier this year. And we were talking in Web of Schlock about how these are all, some are older, some are younger, but they all feel like up and coming. Like there were a lot of fresh faces, and it was hard to judge their acting. I think some of it was pretty good. I think a lot of them are probably really good actors just doing a silly movie, right? Mm-hmm. So my question is this like Friday the 13th Part 2, where maybe we see him in a couple movies again or not? Or is it like Friday the 13th Part 1 and where's
our Kevin Bacon?
Yeah, where is there
or Johnny Depp? Or
is there a Johnny Depp? Is there a Kevin Bacon? Is
Tom
there
Hanks? Jamie Lee Curtis?
Jamie Lee Curtis, yeah. You know, any of the actors in here, I think they all have the potential to be a star. But it's always interesting because we're watching these horror movies right now, but we review horror movies from like 30, 40 years ago. And so we can speculate, but there's no way to know. But 40 years from now, when we're really, really old and we're watching Slotherhouse again to do like
Slotherhouse 10.
Right. And then we go back to the first Slotherhouse and we're like, oh man, this is that one actor or actress who like just blew up and did all these great A-list blockbuster movies. So it's just interesting to see like, you know, when we've looked at other movies, some of the cast are really young and new, and some have been doing movies for decades, but it just felt like this was like a lot of young people who like movies coming together to make something super silly. And sometimes that's all you need for your jumping off point. So it'll be interesting to see what becomes of this.
Yeah. Definitely something to watch out for and see where these people go. For sure.
Hopefully Slotherhouse 2.
Maybe they'll be in Deadpool 3 or the MCU someday.
Well, one of them is in Deadpool 3.
Yeah. But I mean, maybe they're like all friends and they'll like follow each other around. I don't know.
Yeah, some of the actors and actresses were in some of the writers' movies beforehand, so some of it does feel like, hey, I got this thing. Let's make this thing together.
Yeah, and it's fun to do things with people that you know and like.
I bet this movie was a blast to make. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, so we're nearing the end of our time, but first, I got to tell you that we have something very special coming up next week. Speaking of killer, cute, cuddly animals, next week we are going to be talking about Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, and we have a very special guest coming on to talk about it with us. Andrew Scott Bell, the man who composed the music for Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. We are very excited. The dude was cool enough to give us his time. We actually just kind of solidified this right before the show, so I'm still tingly about it. Very excited. We will give you more details as they come out, but make sure you subscribe so that you don't miss out on this. We're gonna ask him a ton of questions because we want to know all about it. So anyway, until next time, I'm Darby Ellis Lewis Wilson. This is Chris Anonymous. We've been compelled by Schlock, and we will see you next week with Andrew Scott Bell talking about Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey.
Schlocky, schlock.